Welcome to the Flux Dev Meeting for April 24th, 2024. Let's get started. Does anyone have anything for the agenda for us to discuss first?
I think we can give a short overview of the advancements with Flux 2.3 release. So we are getting really close. We still have an issue with breaking change in Kubernetes 130 client Go, which is which breaks control runtime. I've been reaching out, and it looks there is a chance for the control runtime team to do a release this week. So currently we are blocked on that for the upgrade, but we are now publishing Kubernetes kind node images for all Kubernetes releases, and we have built the 130.0 image, and we have run all the conformance tests for Flux 2.2 on 130. Next step will be to create preview images from all the current Flux controllers from the main branch and run the tests again. So if we have some issues with 130, we know before we do any controller release. That's it from me.
Awesome. I did a little bit of note taking. If there's anything I missed, if you could add it to the notes in the doc, that would be great. We haven't got anything else on the agenda yet, but I imagine that we probably want to talk about something else. Does anyone have anything?
Did you guys get... Sorry, I don't know who I spoke over there.
Go.
Did you guys speak about the topics that I added to the last call that I couldn't make? If not, I can drag them up into this call.
I don't think we have.
No, we did not.
Okay, I'll drag them up. I'm here. So the first one was just to get people's eyes on the provider announcement update that we'll do alongside the main Flux 2.3 update when it's there. Everyone should have access to that document, so just feel free to give it a read. The second one is the PR that's been kind of hanging around on the Flux provider for a while, and it's really deciding what we want to do with it. It's to do with when you've got a dirty Git history, or your Git history isn't empty. And whether we feel like that's something that we want to handle now, or whether we want to come back to that.
So there are two separate issues, annoyances, let's say. One is the fact that if you create from Terraform a Git repo which is not initialized, as in does not have any branch and no file in any branch, Terraform Bootstrap will fail while the Flux CLI wouldn't. And why is that? Because in the Terraform provider, we at some point made a bad decision around allowing people to specify a customized override, which means they can give us their own customization.yaml. and that's not integrated at all in the CLI or our Bootstrap package. And because of that, means that the provider has to do a git commit before it can run Bootstrap.
Yeah.
So it commits the Flux components and sync files as empty and sets the customize overlay, the customization.yaml as people have provided in the Terraform plan. What this means is that there is a bunch of Git code, Git operations written directly in the Terraform provider, which, yeah, is not that great. So that's one issue. Another issue, also because the Terraform provider does its own Git commits and Git push operations, is the fact that if you run Terraform apply in parallel, let's say you have one repo, you want to bootstrap 3 clusters in parallel, only one will succeed, the other 2 will fail. And it fails with the well-known error that, the branch is ahead. Because all 3 are doing the cloning at the same time. And the first one that wins the race and makes the first push will break the others 2, because then you have a stale branch. Also, this is solved in the CLI, in the Flux package, in the Bootstrap one. If you look at it, we actually handle this type of git push error, and we start with a fresh clone, and we retry this operation so it doesn't fail like that. So we can try and solve these issues by investing more time into the Terraform provider Git operations, figure out how to do that. It's quite complicated because it's a mix of doing directly Git operations and then calling out the Bootstrap package. Or a better way, I would think, is for Flux 2.4, we add the customize override to the Flux CLI and the Flux Bootstrap package. And we make that part of the Bootstrap logic. And then we come back to the Terraform provider and we delete all the custom code in there, and we just call package Bootstrap from the CLI, which should do all the right things in order, with retries,
Mhm.
with empty, starting with empty repos, all of that. That's what I propose. It's even if people will not be using the customize override, we don't necessarily need to expose a flag for it in the CLI, but we should definitely have the logic in there. So you no longer have 3 commits. When you bootstrap, you have 2. The customization gets deployed the right way, and all of that.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
think that makes sense. It'd definitely be a neater implementation for sure.
Yeah, otherwise we spend a long time duplicating all the things that we have in various projects in the Terraform provider. Git operations are quite complicated. So I would really prefer to have only Bootstrap dealing with that and not doing this thing everywhere. So yeah, I would close that pull request and create an issue in Terraform provider about refactoring this, including the customize override in the Flux 2 package bootstrap. And hopefully we can do it this summer.
Got it. Okay, I'll do that. The only other thing really is to figure out and agree what's left to do on the provider release. I think obviously we've got that one that you and I were talking about, Stefan. And then I think we're probably mostly there. There was the adding the registry creds attribute, but I don't know where that is in regards to the 2.3 release and whether we want to try and do that at the same time or whether we want to do that as a kind of a fast follow afterwards.
No, it should be part of the release. So anyway, with the Kubernetes 130 upgrade, we can't use the automation that we have in place to bump the version of Flux in the Terraform provider. The problem here is that the 130 update comes with changes to the format of GoSum and Go mode. Instead of having the Go version as major, minor, we now have major, minor patch, because Kubernetes decided to do that and forces everybody that depends on any Kubernetes package to do the same. So the bot will kind of, when we'll see the new version, it will hard code the toolchain inside GoSum, which is Go mode, which is very bad. So we'll need to do all the packages updates by hand. Then we need to implement the new field, and only then we can do the release. Also, we need to write extensive change logs, document the removal of the deprecated providers, and so on. So yeah, it's after we release Flux 2.3.0, we'll need a couple of hours to work on Terraform provider.
Yeah, makes sense. I'll create an umbrella issue for that. And make sure we don't forget anything.
Yeah, so we'll need one pull request to upgrade Flux 2.3 and Kubernetes 130 by hand. Then another pull request to add the new flag, the OC authentication, and the third one for the release itself with the changelog.
Okay. Yeah, I'll create an umbrella issue and then fire it over to you, make sure I haven't forgotten anything.
Hey, Jason, wanna talk about anything?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked a little bit at the start before you came along, but yeah, I was talking to Sunny before he went on holiday about helping out with a blog post. I think Steve was going to send through some link to contribute to your blogs around the notation contribution and using notation to verify, signed artifacts that were signed using notation. But yeah, I think we've already discussed it a little bit. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else to add. Yeah.
Yeah, so for the blog post, I would really like to have a an introductory part where we show people how they can use Bitnami. I have it running on my cluster using the VMware notation CA, works great. And yeah, everybody that uses Bitnami in their clusters should enable notation for verification of their Bitnami charts. So I think that should be definitely in the blog, and we can give an example for something from the Bitnami chart repo, like metric server or something like that. I have metric server running on my cluster right now with notation verification. So I would say the blog post first should say, hey, we have this improvement. This is how we can use it for Bitnami, and we give them example how they can download the root CA from VMware, how they create the secret, and how to write the OCI repo and Helm repository. So I also showed them the big change in Helm Helm release version 2, where you only need an OCI repo and a Helm release. And right, and the next section should be how do you publish your own OCI artifacts with notary signatures.
Yeah, cool. Do you want to use, so when we create the notation secrets, do you want to use the notation CLI to create those secrets, or sort of like go through the process manually in that, you're showing like an example secret manifest with the trust policy and the different certs that you might have? Like, do you want to, like, which way would you prefer?
So for the Bitnami example,
Yeah.
I would prefer to have Flux create secret notation in there.
Okay. Yeah.
Then the YAML example, OCI repo Helm release.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that
then when you show people how they can do the signatures and the verification, then we can use the notation CLI.
Sweet. Sounds good. And do you want to rely on the notation CLI has like a test, like generate tests certs? Do you want to use that, or do you want to use the OpenSSL and create like certs that way, like similar to what we did with your pod info project? Because those like certs that notation can create are really just for testing. They're not really meant for production.
Yeah. Anyway, we have them in the Flux website with the pull request we are working on. So I would say that in the blog post would be nice to have certificate that you can really use.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I think also in the official docs, we should actually be telling people to use the keygen OpenSSL, because it's also about expiry. It's also about setting your location, your information in the right way. I don't think we should be telling people, hey, use notation with this test set and roll like that.
Okay.
Right. So let's use everywhere OpenSSL to generate the certs, and then people have full control, especially over the expiry date. And we should actually tell them, hey, maybe this should also be, I don't know I think it should be in the official docs where we say, before your certificate expires, you have to.
Well, it depends of the trust level that you have set. But yeah, we can have a note saying that if you have something strict, you should make sure that before your certificate expire, you do the rotation.
Yeah, but here I have a question for Jason. Like, When you rotate your private key, right? So let's say you generate a cert for 6 months. It's close to expiry. I'm going to generate a new cert. Do I reuse the CA so I don't have to change the secret in Flux, or I have to generate a new CA and a new cert and add the CA to the Flux secret?
Good question. I've had that same question before with the notation team. I, I don't think there's like when I ask them, they say it's best to re-sign it. So you can sign an artifact multiple times, and the way notation works is it will go through all the different signatures that you may have attached, and it will look for one that passes. So for when I asked about, that particular approach, what do you do when the certs expire? Generally, I'm told, well, you update your keys and then you re-sign it, and then you create a new release or something like that. You attach the public or the CA cert to the release, so that how like when you create a release in GitHub, you can add like a bunch of different artifacts attached to it. They recommend it's best to do it like that, to attach the cert that way. So then like you download it as part of that release rather than having it committed into like a Git repo or something. But I can follow up again and talk to the team to see they might have some updated guidance around that, because last time I spoke to them about it was like early last year, like around April, May, when I first started doing the contribution. So I don't know if they did like a whole bunch of security reviews, I remember. So the
Yeah,
guidance
because
might have changed since then.
yeah, I get it. So if you sign now, you push the chart, then after 6 months it expires. You need
Yeah.
to re-sign it, basically, because Flux will not be able to download it anymore. But
Yeah.
if you re-sign it with a cert that uses the same certificate authority as before, then you shouldn't have to change anything in the Flux secret.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess so.
But
Yeah.
if the notation recommendation is when you rotate your private cert, you should also generate a new CA. If that's their recommendation and that's how it's safe to do it, then people also need to append the new CA to the secret. So until the old cert expires, the verification will still work, right?
Yeah, so that depends on the verification level that you set. So you know how there's like strict, permissive, audit, skip. So I think permissive, even if the cert expired, it will still it will still verify and allow it through. So in those cases where the cert does expire, but it was already validated and verified and was valid before, notation will still say, yeah, if it's all good. It's only if you set your verification level to strict, it will check to see the expiry date. And if it's expired, then notation will come back and say, no, it's not valid. Based, and like that's how we've got inside Flux at the moment. But yeah, I can get back to you on that in terms of like, can we just, you know, what the guidance is around that from the from not Flux, sorry, from the notation team, and get back to you on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, in any case, we should be using OpenSSL, the command line to generate the certs. So they are production ready, so to speak, right? Yeah, that's it.
So I'll reach out to them and I'll message you on Slack.
Cool. One more thing for today. We do have, I'm not sure if there's anything else to go on the agenda, but following this meeting at 9 o'clock Eastern or whatever the next hour is for you in your local time, there is a Flux GUI ecosystem meeting where people who are interested in the Flux GUI ecosystem can come to discuss their solutions and pitch each other with whatever types of ideas you might have. So that's on the Flux calendar on fluxcd.io.
Nice, I see it, yeah. And it's in a local time. Congrats. That's really nice. No more confusions.
Yeah, I think that was the single biggest obstacle to getting people at our meetings.
Yeah, for sure.
I can attest to that. Like, it was so confusing because I'm Australian based. So like right now it's like 10 o'clock for me at night, and like looking at the time, like doing the conversion, was like, am I doing it right? I don't know. So like that's awesome having it like convert to your local time zone.
Yeah. Yeah, we also need a revamp of the Flux homepage. Maybe we can do it this year, but I would really like to have the calendar in a dedicated page.
That's a good idea. The homepage is pretty busy.
Yeah, and you can easily miss it. It's down below. It's hard to link to it because of the JavaScript that loads the page with images after the first load. So even if you try to link to calendar, it will jump around and so on. But yeah, I think under project community, we can actually have this embedded here. So we can properly link to it and have that table that expands inside its own dedicated page. So not only on the main page like now. Anyway, we can try to have this list in the community page as well before we do any changes to the main page. I'm not sure how much JavaScript is there or how hard would it be, but yeah. Would you try that, Kendall?
Try to embed the calendar in the community page, you mean?
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, I can give
like
that
have a
a try.
section, calendar, and put the HTML part in there.
Like,
Oh,
do you think right above getting involved or near the top?
right under get involved should be the first thing.
All right.
Before finding your interest should be join us on dev meetings, or I would want to say it. Basically, there is a meetings section right at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Right, let's move this first one and replace the table we have here with the one from the
Oh,
main
yeah.
page.
Perfect. That makes sense.
Right, so then we don't even need the HTML anchor when we paste to people. We just give them /community, and when you open the community page, first thing you'll see is the calendar.
I
And
think
then you
that sounds
scroll
good.
down to repos and other things, right? Themes, whatever. Yeah, we could also cut down the intro text. We started in 2016, whatever. This can be basically removed. So we have a short intro text, getting involved, meetings, then find your interest and all the other stuff. Okay,
Okay, I'll put something together.
great, awesome. I'm guessing it will be complicated with the cron job, right? That now I'm guessing it changes the HTML of the main page only, right?
The cron job actually just runs the build. And it runs the build on both branches also. So now is probably a good time to remind us that we need a new webhook for the Flux 2.3 build, and that script needs to be updated to point at it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, but that script, I'm guessing it does something to the main page, right? To re-render the calendar.
No, the calendar is part of the Hugo build. So when Hugo build runs,
Ah,
actually, no, not Hugo build, the prescripts, the hack import calendar.py is the script that does that. And every time the build runs, it runs in a fresh context so that calendar.yaml in data calendar gets updated, which Hugo build then processes into that page. So it doesn't really matter where that calendar is. I don't
Cool.
think it's going to change anything. And we've been really careful not to introduce any extra JavaScript build tools to make it complicated. Everything is from unpackage. So if there's a package we need to import, it's just imported straight from a CDN.
Great. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
Is anything else, or we can cut it short?
I think that is enough for me. Could use a break before the next meeting. Thanks, everyone. Is it one last call for anyone who's got anything to add? Then I guess that's it.
Have a nice day.
Thanks, all. Catch you later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.